Soviet Union. Today I have for you 50 kind of easy questions about Soviet Union. They are ABCD, so you can guess if you want to. And you will learn a lot if you concentrate enough. But if you don't want to concentrate, you can just listen to my voice and sleep and learn passively. So let's start. What do the initials USSR stand for in English? What do the initials USSR stand for in English? Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, United States of Socialist Republics, Union of Socialist State Republics, United Soviet States Republic. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics is A. United States of Socialist Republics, Union of Socialist State Republics, or United Soviet States Republic. And it is of course a Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The USSR's English name is direct expansion of Russian abbreviation, so it's A. Which city served as the political heartbeat and capital of Soviet Union? Which city served as the political heartbeat and capital of Soviet Union? And it was A. Minsk, B. Moscow, C. Kiev, or D. Tbilisi. Minsk, Moscow, Kiev, Tbilisi. And it's of course B. Moscow. Moscow was USSR's absolute center of power from 1922 until 1991. Yes, Soviet Union is very old, 1922, since the revolution. Which emblem is most closely associated with Soviet symbolism and can get me jailed in Czechia? A. Trident, B. Bald eagle, C. Hammer and sickle, and D. Rising sun. There is a house in New Orleans. So trident, bald eagle, hammer and sickle, or rising sun. And it's of course hammer and sickle. The symbol paired industry, hammer, with agriculture, sickle. So hammer and sickle. Of course the trident is like what? Poseidon. Maybe. Bald eagle is USA and rising sun is Imperial Japan. Okay, next one. Let's move. Number 4. In what year was the Soviet Union formally established? We already said that. In 1917, in 1939, in 1945, or in 1922. 1917, 1939, 1945, or 1922. And the right answer is D, 1922. The USSR was created by treaty on December 30, 1922. Sorry for my voice. Battle cough. It's terrible. Next one. Which leader launched the policies known as perestroika and glasnost, which later launched the policies known as perestroika and glasnost. It was Mikhail Gorbachev, Vladimir Lenin, Nikita Khrushchev, or Leonid Brezhnev. So it was Mikhail Gorbachev, Vladimir Lenin, Nikita Khrushchev, or Leonid Brezhnev. And it was Mikhail Gorbachev. These reforms pushed restructuring and more openness in the late 1980s. Did not help. Well, helped a little bit, maybe. Which Soviet space mission first sent a human into orbit? It was A. Soyuz 1, B. Vostok 1 or Vostok, C. Sputnik 2, or D. Salyut 1. So Soyuz 1, Vostok 1, Sputnik 2, or Salyut 1. And it was Vostok 1, and it carried Yuri Gagarin into orbit in 1961. Yes. Which Soviet city endured a World War II siege lasting 872 days? It was A. Stalingrad, B. Sevastopol, C. Leningrad, and D. Odessa. Stalingrad, Sevastopol, Leningrad, or Odessa. And it was Siege of Leningrad. Siege of Leningrad became a symbol of endurance and under extreme suffering. Okay. Which term describes the long rivalry, I don't know, between the USSR and the USA after World War II? It was A. Iron Age, B. Space Race, C. Great Game, or D. Cold War. So Iron Age, Space Race, Great Game, or Cold War. And it was Cold War, a global standoff defined by alliances, ideology, and nuclear brinkmanship. Okay. Which 1956 event marked a major uprising against Soviet influence in Eastern Europe? Which 1956 event marked a major uprising against Soviet influence in Eastern Europe? It was A. Hungarian Revolution, B. Prague Spring, C. Berlin Blockade, or D. Solidarity Movement. So which 1956 event marked a major uprising against Soviet influence in Eastern Europe? Hungarian Revolution, Prague Spring, Berlin Blockade, or Solidarity Movement? And it was Hungarian Revolution. The 1956 Hungarian uprising was crushed, shaking faith in the bloc's stability. Which 1920s policy briefly restored limited private trade to stabilize the Soviet economy? It was A. Collectivization, B. War communism, C. New economic policy, and D. 5-year plan. So collectivization, war, communism, new economic policy, or 5-year plan, which established private trade, the superior form of trade. And it was new economic policy. The new economic policy allowed small-scale markets after the Civil War turmoil. So, new economic policy. Which Soviet security organization was most notorious during Stalin's 1930s purges? It was NKVD, Cheka, KGB, or GRU. NKVD, Cheka, KGB, or GRU, which did the Great Purges. If you play i4, you know, and if you play i4, become a member to support this channel. And it was NKVD. The NKVD drove mass arrests and the machinery of the Great Purge. Which color dominated the Soviet national flag? It was blue, 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 red, 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 green, or black, black. That was it. That one is easy. It was, of course, red. Yeah, like red sapphire. What was the common English name for the Soviet anthem used from 1944 to 1991? It was Hymn of the Red Army, or Song of the Motherland, or State Anthem of the Soviet Union, or Anthem of the Slavs. So it was Hymn of the Red Army, Song of the Motherland, State Anthem of the Soviet Union, or Anthem of the Slavs. And it was just the State Anthem of the Soviet Union. The famous melody stayed while lyrics changed across areas, and I think it's the best national anthem. I like Czech's national anthem too, but the Soviet one, like the Russian one, they have the same. That's just different. It's so good. It's so good. I genuinely think it's the best anthem. That's my opinion. Tell me your best anthem in the comments. So, State Anthem of the Soviet Union. Which continent contained most of the Soviet Union's land area? It was Europe, Africa, South America, or Asia. So, Europe, Africa, South America, or Asia. You know that one. That's of course Asia. The USSR spanned 2 continents, but most land lay in Asia. Which 1961 crisis climaxed, it had big climax, with Berlin being sealed off by a new barrier system. Barrier, I don't know. So 1961 crisis, it was A. Berlin crisis, B. Cuban Missile Crisis, C. Suez Crisis, or D. Korean War. That one is for lobotoms. So which crisis led to building of the Berlin Wall? Let me think a bit. So Berlin crisis, Cuban Missile Crisis, Suez Crisis, or Korean War, and it was of course Berlin crisis. Perfect. In August 1961, which Soviet space station program began in 1971? Which Soviet space station program began in 1971? It was Luna program, Salyut program, Buran program, or Interkosmos. Luna program, Salyut program, Buran program, or Interkosmos. And it was Salyut program. Salyut pioneered long stays in orbit before Mir and the ISS era. Which Soviet leader is linked to the 1950s thaw and speech denouncing Stalin's abuses? Who denounced Stalin's abuses? So A. Joseph Stalin. Did he denounce himself? B. Grigory Malenkov. C. Nikita Khrushchev. Or D. Yuri Andropov. So who denounced Stalin in 1950s? Joseph Stalin, Georgy Malenkov, Nikita Khrushchev, or Yuri Andropov. And it was Khrushchev. And it began process of de-Stalinization. For example, in Prague, the biggest monument of Stalin was on, I think, Witkovel. And now it's not there anymore. There is Zizka. Because, which term describes the Soviet campaign to merge peasant farms into large collective units? Which term describes the Soviet campaign to merge peasant farms into large collective units? Industrialization, liberalization, nationalization, or collectivization? Zations, a lot of Zations. So it was industrialization, liberalization, nationalization, or collectivization. And it's of course collectivization. And it didn't work. Which 1932 to 1933 famine in Soviet Ukraine is widely known by a specific name? A. Holodomor. B. Bengal famine. C. Dust Bowl. Or D. Great Leap famine. So which 1932 to 1933 famine in Soviet Ukraine is widely known by a specific name? Holodomor, Bengal famine, Dust Bowl, Great Leap famine, and was Holodomor. And if you today talk about that to many communists, they will deny it. No, it never happened. It never was. It's always fun to watch them crumble before the Holodomor. Which 1979 to 1989 war became a major drain on Soviet resources and morale? 1979 to 1989. A. Vietnam War. B. Soviet-Afghan War. C. Iran-Iraq War. Or D. Six-Day War. So Vietnam War, Soviet-Afghan War, Iran-Iraq War, or Six-Day War. It was of course the graveyard of empires. course, Afghanistan, Soviet-Afghan War. The conflict proved costly and accelerated disillusionment at home. Yeah, the graveyard of empires. Which leader is most associated with the October Revolution and the founding of the Soviet state? A. Vladimir Lenin. B. Nikita Khrushchev. C. Mikhail Gorbachev. D. Boris Yeltsin. So, who created it? Vladimir Lenin, Nikita Khrushchev, Mikhail Gorbachev, or Boris Yeltsin? And he's still in Red Square. Vladimir Lenin. Lenin led the Bolsheviks and became the USSR defining founder figure. What was the general name for the worker councils central to early Soviet politics? A. Dumas. B. Soviets. C. Cantons. Or D. Senates. So, for worker councils, Dumas, you say, probably in English it's Dumas, and we say Dumas, I think. Soviets, cantons, and or senates. It was, of course, Soviets. That's how it's called, the Soviet Union. Okay. Which ocean borders the Soviet Union's far north? Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, or Southern Ocean? Which ocean borders the Soviet Union's far north? Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, or Southern Ocean? And it's Arctic Ocean. Of course. Easy. Which Soviet design bureau is legendary for its long-range bombers and jet airliners? Which Soviet design bureau is legendary for its long-range bombers and jet airliners? Sukhoi, Ilyushin, Yakovlev, Tupolev. Sukhoi, Ilyushin, Yakovlev, Tupolev. I think it's with soft L. Tupolev. And it's Tupolev. The Tupolev name became iconic through the two series of aircraft. Which pact formed a Soviet-led military alliance in 1955? A. Warsaw Pact. B. NATO. C. CETO. Or D. CENTO. And E. SNECO. No, it's not SNECO. But I think he's like, what he's not, he's fascist or communist, he is changing it all the time. I shouldn't know these things, but I know them. I'm too much on the internet, guys. So Warsaw Pact, NATO, CETO, or CENTO. And of course Warsaw Pact. Bound Eastern Bloc's militaries under Soviet leadership. Very good deal. No, it wasn't. Which doctrine claimed socialist states had limited sovereignty and the USSR could intervene to preserve socialism? It was A. Truman Doctrine, B. Brezhnev Doctrine, C. Monroe Doctrine, or D. Nixon Doctrine. A. Truman Doctrine, B. Brezhnev Doctrine, C. Monroe Doctrine, and D. Nixon Doctrine. This one's really easy. It's Brezhnev Doctrine. It was was used to justify interventions like Czechoslovakia. Why? Okay, we made such a great films in that period, and they fucked it. Which Soviet nuclear power plant was the site of the 1986 disaster that shocked the world? It was A. Mayak, B. 3 Mile Island, C. Chernobyl, or D. Fukushima Daiichi. Konnichiwa. Kawaii. Mayak, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, or Fukushima Daiichi. It was, of course, not great, not terrible. Not great, not terrible, yeah. Chernobyl. It was big boom. Big boom. Which art style was officially promoted to depict an idealized socialist society and heroic workers? For example, it was A. Impressionism, B. Surrealism, C. Dadaism, or D. Socialist Realism. So it was Impressionism, Surrealism, Dadaism, or Socialist Realism. It was Socialist Realism. For example, in my city, Olomouc, in Czech Republic, in Moravia, we have like astronomical clock, and it was really beautiful old astronomical clock. And the last day of the World War, some Nazis hid inside the like town hall, and the Soviets came with tanks and they just shoot everything into smithereens. So they destroyed the clock, and then they had to like repair it, people. But because they were like, well, we restore it to what it was, or are we going to do it in this new communism, socialist realism? So they did it in that, and now it's like mosaic of workers, chemists, and stuff like that. It's actually kind of pretty. It's like socialist, but it's, I think, one of the last. I think only one. There are only two big astronomical clocks in Czechia, like the real one, in Olomouc and in Prague, and yeah. So it's unique. It's unique that they kept it, the communist, you know, and it's nice. It looks pretty good. Which system of forced labor camps spread across the USSR is known by a single infamous name? A. Komsomol, B. Gulag, C. Čeka, or D. Zemstvo. Komsomol, Gulag, Čeka, or Zemstvo. And of course, Gulag. If you read Gulag Archipelago, I did not, but before I die, I want. Which 1968 reform moved in Czechoslovakia was crushed by Warsaw Pact? So which 1968 reform movement in Czechoslovakia was crushed by Warsaw Pact? Everybody invaded us. Polish, Hungarians, I think Romanians did not invade us. They said like, no, we are not invading them. Like, fuck that. So, A. Baltic Way, B. Hungarian Revolution, C. Prague Spring, or D. Berlin Blockade. Again, easy. So Baltic Way, Hungarian Revolution, Prague Spring, or Berlin Blockade. It was, of course, Prague Spring. Which mountain range marked a major Soviet frontier in Central Asia along the Chinese border? Which mountain range marked a major Soviet frontier in Central Asia along the Chinese border? There were some skirmishes. It was A. Tien Shan, B. Caucasus, C. Altai, or D. Pamirs, I would say. Tien Shan, Caucasus, Altai, or D. Pamirs. It was Tien Shan. It helped define the USSR Central Asian geography. Which holiday on May 1st was marked by parades across the Soviet Union, and we still celebrate in Czechia? Which holiday on May 1st was marked by parades across the Soviet Union? A. Victory Day, B. International Workers' Day, C. Cosmonautics Day, or D. Constitution Day. So, Victory Day, International Workers' Day, Cosmonautics Day, or Constitution Day. And it is International Workers' Day. Yeah. Which inland sea notoriously shrank into a desert due to Soviet irrigation projects? Which inland sea notoriously shrank into a desert due to Soviet irrigation projects? A. Black Sea, B. Baltic Sea, C. Aral Sea, or D. Caspian Sea. So, Black Sea, Baltic Sea, Aral Sea, or Caspian Sea. It was Aral Sea, and if you know this, leave a like on this video and comment. I'm not in the files. And I know that you knew this question. Number 34. Which Soviet youth organization was known for badges, uniforms, and school ceremonies? A. Boy Scouts, B. Komsomol, C. Young Communists, or D. Young Pioneers. So, Boy Scouts, Komsomol, Young Communists, or Young Pioneers. And it was, of course, Young Pioneers. They shaped Soviet childhood culture for decades. Which Soviet policy approach set centralized production targets for the whole economy? A. 5-year plans, B. Gold standard, C. Free trade zone, or D. Market liberalization. 5-year plans, gold standard, free trade zone, or market liberalization. It was, of course, 5-year plans. They are completely different from the rest, let's say. Which institution was the USSR's top legislature? In the name, meeting in formal sessions to approve decisions. It was A. Politburo, B. Supreme Soviet, the Supreme Soviet, C. Council of Ministers, or D. Central Committee. So what was the top legislature? Politburo, Supreme Soviet, Council of Ministers, or Central Committee? And it was the Supreme Soviet. It's like, that reminds me, like, if you know DC Comics, like you have Superman, and the Soviet version in the universe where Superman fell into Soviet Russia is called Superior Man. Superman, Superior Man. superior man, I think. Let me know. What term describes the Soviet practice of using psychiatry to silence political dissent? A. Detente. B. Shock therapy. C. Punitive psychiatry. Or D. Samizdat. A. Detente. B. Shock therapy. C. Punitive psychiatry. Or D. Samizdat. And of course, punitive psychiatry. Which Soviet city hosted the 1980 Summer Olympics? It was Tallinn, Leningrad, Kiev, or Moscow. Tallinn, Leningrad, Kiev, or Moscow. It was Moscow. In 1980, games were heavily politicized and wildly boycotted. Which 1939 agreement between the USSR and Nazi Germany included secret protocols dividing spheres of influence? A. Yalta Agreement. B. Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. C. Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Or D. Kellogg-Briand Pact. So, Yalta Conference, Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, or Kellogg-Briand Pact. And it was Molotov-Ribbentrop, of course. Again, if you play RE4, you are clear in this one. Which underground practice involved copying and privately circulating banned texts in the USSR? It was A. Glasnost, B. Detente, C. Samizdat, or D. Perestroika. So which underground practice involved copying and privately circulating banned text in the USSR? Glasnost, Detente, Samizdat, or Perestroika. It was of course Samizdat. Which holiday on May 9 commemorated the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany in World War II? A. Victory Day. B. International Workers' Day. C. Cosmonautics Day. Or D. Constitution Day. A. Victory Day. B. International Workers' Day. C. Cosmonautics Day. Or D. Constitution Day. And it's of course Victory Day. It's still celebrated, of course. We celebrate it too in Czechia, I think. Yeah, but on different day. Which vast cold region of the former USSR is famous for extreme winters and immense wilderness? A. Alaska, Siberia, Lapland, Patagonia. Alaska, Siberia, Lapland, or Patagonia. And of course, Siberia. I watched this video of that girl from Yakutsk. They have like -70 or something. It's insane. I'm ill. From -20, we had -20 in Czechia. We need to speed the global warming. Number 43. What was the Soviet Union's dominant single ruling party called? A. Komsomol. B. Supreme Soviet. C. Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Or D. Council of Ministers. So Komsomol, Supreme Soviet, Communist Party of the Soviet Union, or Council of Ministers. And of course it's Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Which rail line is most famous famously associated with crossing Russia from west to east? Which rail line is most famously associated with crossing Russia from west to east? Orient Express, Indian Pacific, Trans-Canada Railway, or Trans-Siberian Railway? Orient Express, Indian Pacific, Trans-Canada Railway, or Trans-Siberia Railway? And it's Trans-Siberia Railway, and Czech legionnaires occupied it for the whole World War I, basically. Crazy story. I should do a video about that. Number 45. Which Soviet agency handled state security and foreign intelligence from 1954 to 1991? It was A. KGB, B. NKVD, C. Cheka, or D. GRU, KGB, NKVD, Cheka, or GRU. And it's KGB. We have this one politician. He's not a politician, he's more of the comedian. And he can determine if you are in KGB or GRU by Sideric. How do you call it? Like, I don't know how to say it in English. What's that? I don't know the word. You can tell me the word. But basically, you have crystal on a string and you go left and right, and it's crazy. And you can be on the KGB or GRU. He's so funny. It's so funny, but I'm sometimes afraid he really means that. If you look at this page, I did that once. It's like this old page from internet, like one beta, internet alpha maybe, and it takes so long because he puts everything into one article on the front page, and it's like long like toilet paper, and it's just yellings of the madman. Okay, next one. Which Soviet leader is most associated with the era of stagnation? Yuri Andropov, Leonid Brezhnev, Nikita Khrushchev, or Mikhail Gorbachev? Yuri Andropov, Leonid Brezhnev, Mikhail Gorbachev, or Yuri Andropov, Leonid Brezhnev, Nikita Khrushchev, or Mikhail Gorbachev? And it's Leonid Brezhnev. Leonid Brezhnev. Which Soviet term specifically meant a state-run farm? Kolkhoz, artel, sovkhoz, or commune? Kolkhoz, artel, sovkhoz, or commune? Sovkhoz or commune? And it's sovkhoz. Sovkhoz, state-run farm. And there was like different types. Which term best describes chronic Soviet shortages and long consumer queues? Yeah, that was a lot. A. Bubble economy. B. Hyperinflation. C. Boom economy. Or D. Shortage economy. Bubble economy. Hyperinflation. Boom economy. Or shortage economy. And it's shortage economy. Number 49. Which 1991 event tried to stop reforms and preserve Soviet power but backfired and sped up collapse? A. Belovezha Accords. B. August coup. C. Prague Spring. Or D. Hungarian Revolution? So A. Belovezha Accords. B. August coup. C. Prague shattered authority and accelerated the USSR's breakup. And the last question, what's the time? Oh my god, so long. Which December 1991 agreement declared the USSR effectively dissolved and created the CIS? A. Helsinki Accords. B. Potsdam Agreement. C. Belovezha Accords. Or D. Yalta Agreement. So Helsinki Accords, Potsdam Agreement, Belovezha Accords, or Yalta Agreement. And it's Belovezha Accords, signed by Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. It formalized the Soviet Union's end. So this is all. It was not very great quiz, but I wanted to make worse one when my throat is still sick. So I hope you liked the video, and if you really did, you can become a member and help me create more, and I will see you in the next one. Good night.